Yoshi P, Square Enix, anyone listening to this, from the bottom of my heart, I love you guys. But please just say all this stuff in a live stream, because the amount of information you guys are putting out in just interviews is actually crazy. We know what Beastmaster is going to look like. We have a rough timeline for when we're going to Mirror City. We can expect some big changes to the jobs. There's a lot to talk about in this new interview with Yoshi P. Sit down, relax, because this one is a doozy. Hello everybody. I'm Jmulls, and let's get into this. I will leave a link in the description down below to this interview if you wish to peruse it for yourself, but here we have an interview with Yoshi P from techradar. I spoke with Final Fantasy XIV's Naoki Yoshida about Monster Hunter, Beastmaster, and the collaborations he'd love to do next. I'm a maniac about One Piece. We aren't going to read everything here because, well, it's not all necessarily relevant to Final Fantasy XIV. We're going to learn more about the Monster Hunter collaboration in Final Fantasy XIV at the Tokyo Game Fest. I always call it Tokyo Game Fest, it's Tokyo Game Show, and that the content for both titles, Monster Hunter and Final Fantasy XIV, has been designed so that both casual and hardcore players can enjoy it. This does line up with how trials go traditionally, with both normal and extreme difficulty encounters available, but he didn't go too much into detail about this, so we don't necessarily know, but we'll see. Not much about what level we're going to be in the next expansion, but basically TLDR, they have a plan. But now to the juicy bits. Let's talk job design. We do have quite a big plan for jobs moving forward, said Yoshida, but it is quite difficult for me to convey the nuances at this time. When it comes to the current content that we have in terms of battles and design, we don't want to destroy that experience as it is right now. So keeping that in mind, we don't want to incorporate major changes to that. But what we do want to do is make jobs more interesting for players to use. So it's an acknowledgement that jobs right now could be more interesting. I think a lot of us will agree on that one. And I think it really depends upon what he means by not wanting to destroy that experience. Is he just talking about being able to do old content? And if you change the jobs too significantly, it could compromise the difficulty or the enjoyment people have running old content. What does this necessarily mean? I imagine we're gonna have to probably wait till FanFest, or at this rate, another interview to find out. But he is pretty much saying, look, we're going to try to make the jobs more interesting. The big question for me is, how do you define interesting? Is it just difficulty in the rotation? Is it the mechanical satisfaction you get by pressing your buttons? How do we define an interesting job? How do we define interesting gameplay in the context of Final Fantasy XIV? There's a lot of different players that want a lot of different things out of what their job can do. Some people hate modern summoners, some people love the thing. What will happen to the 2-minute burst window? There's a lot of questions that still need answers. But what this is an acknowledgement that things are at least going to change. How much they're going to change and to what degree they end up changing, we don't really know. We just know that change is coming. And now Beastmaster, and Yoshi P is going to clear up a lot of concerns people had for the design of Beastmaster. Don't worry guys, it's not the regulator thing. Though I thought that it could have been cool as its own idea, it is not shaping up to be that. It's going to be a limited job, so you're not just going to run current content with it. Think of it more like a side minigame that you can dump a bunch of hours investing into that job and its various mechanics and the content they create for Beastmaster. Yoshi P says, regarding the release, I'll be clear, said Yoshida. It is scheduled to be released in the patch 7.5 series. It's still a while away. That means we can likely expect to see the content arrive around spring to summer of 2026. Quite a while to wait then. That's the interviewer, not Yoshi P. But Final Fantasy XIV is very much on a schedule, so it's kind of easy to predict when patches are going to be. But Yoshi P says, in terms of the concept, you ally yourself with monsters. Then these monsters grow so that they can join you in dedicated battle content. This is going to be something completely different to anything we've done in Final Fantasy XIV before, and it's exclusive to this limited job. We've been investing a lot of resources into developing this content, and the team is super excited about it. It's a pet job. That's basically what it is. And this is going to excite a bunch of people that wanted this to be what Beastmaster was, instead of just like doing the Digimon Season 4 turning into the thing like a regulator would. And there's going to be a lot of people that go, oh cool, the job fantasy I've always wanted in this game is not even a real job, it's a limited job. that's going to deflate a lot of people. The biggest example I will always point to is just how popular Hunter is in World of Warcraft. It's historically one of the most popular classes in all of World of Warcraft. People love pet classes. Summoner used to be that to a degree, and it still like kinda is if you want to be like technical about it, but not to the degree that people that want to be invested in a pet class would be satisfied with. So now that Final Fantasy XIV is finally getting something like Beastmaster, but it's exclusively a limited job, okay, but I still think a lot of those people are going to want that class fantasy for a regular job. That's what they want their Warrior of Light to be. I'm a bit fortunate in this regard because I don't normally main classes or jobs like that, so it's not this emotional gut punch for me, but I can completely understand and relate to those where this is going to hurt. We do actually have a little bit of an idea as to the lore for Beastmaster. From a lore perspective, there will be a connection between Save the Queen and Beastmaster. That said, Save the Queen is not part of the main scenario questline, so of course some players haven't experienced it. So with that in mind, there will be a connection, but whether or not characters from Save the Queen make an appearance, I'm keeping that under wraps for now. If you remember the Baja story, even the interviewer points out here, there was a character there called Leon who was a Beastmaster. So I imagine the job fantasy is going to be trying to emulate that guy, or some version of that guy. I think Beastmaster as a limited job could be really cool and fun. It really depends upon just how mindlessly grindy it ends up being, or just how much of a relationship you could have with the various beasts that you acquire. Can you name them? Can you maybe even customize them? Probably going a little bit too far here for what they're actually going to end up having this system be. There's still a lot of questions. At the end of the day, it's still going to tick a lot of people off that this job design is now relegated to a limited job instead of a regular job. And like, yeah, I think it is fair to retort and say, well, maybe Final Fantasy XIV's backend code or whatever just can't really support a traditional job like Beastmaster would have to be as being a pet class, right? Like, maybe it just can't support it in an effective way. I don't think that's a good retort to the people that would want this to be a regular job. Just saying that it can happen doesn't mean people aren't going to want that to happen. And there's other questions that I have with this system. How handholdy is it going to be? Are we just going to acquire predetermined beasts with predetermined names and like what they do? Are we going to have some kind of customization for it? Because I feel that for a lot of people that would want this job fantasy, they would want to be able to customize their minions, customize the beasts they utilize, change their names, get some kind of investment out of those specific beasts. Perhaps that's how it functions. We have to wait and see. I think I echo a lot of people's sentiments here, though, that, from now on, if we're going to do this type of content, can we get it online before the 0.5 series patch for the expansion? Especially when it's advertised as one of the key features for that expansion. It's like, yeah, you've done it before. That doesn't mean it's a good idea. Blue Mage released rather late into an expansion. Again, that doesn't mean it was a good idea or that it should be replicated for Beastmaster. This is way closer to the release of the next expansion than the actual launch of Dawntrail. So we'll see how this goes. And then at the end of the interview, we get a bit of information about the thought process behind the themes of Endwalker and Dawntrail, and also when we may be able to expect Mirror Cydia. The thing we wanted to convey in Endwalker was that even when you reach the end of something, that's not the end of everything, and players should not give up. There's still hope, and we wanted to give them the strength and hope to do their best to endeavor for tomorrow. When it came to Dawntrail, we didn't want to ask the question of what that tomorrow would be, or the end of the world. Instead, we wanted to convey more about the reason behind what death is, and what is the meaning of the end. The reason why we pose these questions is because in our real-life society, right now, there's a continued evolution of the digitization of everything, and with that in the backdrop, we wanted to approach the question of how will we live tomorrow, and that is the question that we're posing in the story moving forward. And in regards to Mirror Cydia, I can't provide any specific details, replied Yoshida, but I have already decided when Mirror Cydia will make an appearance and how. But what I can say is that it is going to be quite a while away. So I think my prediction that Mirror Cydia is going to be the final location we go to for this big narrative arc, or at least incorporated there, I think I'm kind of on the money with that. This sounds like it's not the next expansion at minimum, right? So I think the safer bet for Mirror Cydia is like 9.0 or like maybe 10.0. Or we just don't even go there as a full expansion, we go there for like a dungeon, who knows? Maybe it's just a raid series. Who knows? I think what Yoshi P is trying to do here is prevent people from getting expectations that for 8.0 we're going to Mirror Cydia, and then when we end up not going to Mirror Cydia, people get angry or upset about that. that, because he is revealing, like, more information than I feel like they normally do. He basically said here that at some point in the future, yeah, we will be going to Mirror City. Like, yeah, that was kind of obvious, but at the same time, it was a question, and now we know we're not going there anytime soon, at least. And with the way they did give development to Mirror City in the Endwalker patches, I think it is fair to say that for this new big narrative arc we're going into, it's probably going to be in the later sections of that. So who knows where we go for 8.0? Maybe we go shard hopping. Maybe we go to Hingashi. Maybe we go to, like, the northern or southern portions of Tyrell. There's a lot of possibilities for where we go next. At least we now kind of know Mirror City ain't one of them. Look, it is convention season. Yoshi P's been doing a lot of interviews, and I've been covering them largely on this channel. What I think is interesting, and what I find particularly interesting, is the fact he keeps repeatedly saying that there are going to be changes to the game, whether it comes from a design philosophical standpoint, or now when it comes to job design, and he's also being rather clear about certain specific elements, like what Beastmaster's actually going to look like. We're no longer asking the question, is it going to be that traditional hunter style of a class, or is it going to be the Digimon Season 4 Spirit Evolution type thing we were kind of wondering with the lore of Regulators and Dawntrail? And if you've been wanting to go to Mirror City, you're gonna have to take a knee and run out the clock, because it's not gonna happen anytime soon. Or that his definition of quite a while away, maybe that's up to interpretation, and he just kind of means, yeah, we're gonna go there in a dungeon in the 8.x series. Maybe that's what he's talking about. We don't know for sure. But here's where you come in, and I really want your feedback and I want your opinions on this topic. Limited jobs and Beastmaster. Are you excited for it? Do you think there's a way they could do limited jobs to be interesting to you, or do you think it's just an undesirable outcome no matter what? Also, when it comes to job design, what job do you want to see changed the most, and what do you want to see changed about it? I plan to talk about job design in a future video, and I would love to hear your feedback and hear your thoughts on that topic. And if you want to keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening with Final Fantasy XIV, you should leave a like and subscribe. Follow me on TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter, Jmulls G. I have a Discord in the description down below. And they may have hinted as to where the story is going to go for 7.4 and 0.5. They put out a new short story starring Zelania, Knight of Alexandria, and Sphene. I read it and I broke it down, and if you want to see that, you should check out this video right here for more. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye, everybody, until we meet again!